Hi guys, we're up at the Newcastle meeting today and we're going to have lots of different training shared throughout the day, but the first one's going to be Jane Stannard, who was a top sponsor last catalogue, so she's going to give a little bit about her story and her tips. So a big round of applause to Jane.
Well, I just thought, what would I want to hear if I was here, which I was about last October. I was just checking with Gavin, because we started Oriflame last August, I think it was, early August, and then sort of just breaking it in by the time we came here last October. And I remember thinking, I just want to soak up exactly what everybody does who's sponsoring and everything else, because that's what you want to hear. So basically that's what I put together. What would I want to hear, and what do I do, sort of thing, or what's working for me at the moment. So why I joined Oriflame, I thought I'd just give a bit about my background and why I joined, and then sort of basically what I do on a day-to-day basis when I'm sponsoring. Okay. So I was unhappy in my day job. I'd just started a job as in the print industry as an account manager. It was quite a stressful job. It was about 12 hours a day with travel time and everything. Wasn't very happy. And I started that in June, and we went on holiday touring around Scotland in a camper van. And I'd heard about Clean Easy and stopping, because we'd done Clean Easy between 2000 and 2007, and we were downline from Gavin. And I just thought, because it was a holiday, I had time on my mind, and I just thought, I wonder what Gavin's up to now. So I went on his Facebook page, and I just saw all this Oriflame stuff, and I was like, oh, what's all about? So I texted him and said, what's all this, and sent me information. By the time I got back from the holiday, travelling around, I decided to do it. But I was in the right time, I suppose, for me, because I wasn't happy in my day job. Even though it was a well-paid job, it was a good job, it was stressful, and I wasn't happy. I'd had a conventional business I'd sold it in March 2017. After Clean Easy, I had a few years, maybe 3 or 4 years, I think it was, doing teaching, because I'm a teacher in a previous life. And then I'd had a conventional business after Clean Easy in print and graphic design for 7 years, from 2010 to 2017. And I'd sold that. And I was quite happy to go back into employment because I just wanted an easier life. But then I am quite entrepreneurial, so I sort of, after a couple of years, I was thinking, oh, I want to do something to do with business, which is why I contacted Gavin, I think. I've always believed in the concept of network marketing as a business model, especially, as the next point says, having had a conventional business, because I'd spent tens of thousands, it was a franchise, getting it up and running. The staff that I'd employed, there was a lot of stress involved with that, and obviously paying wages. There was a lot of overheads. I had to turn over in print, selling print, at least £10,000 a month before I made a penny. So that was just to cover all the bills. So it was very financially pressured. I had to hold a lot of stock, and I was 12, 13, 14 hours a day, something like that. So it was a stressful position to be in as a conventional business owner, and rents and rates and all that sort of thing. So I can compare that to the network marketing industry and see the benefits, which are the reverse in network marketing. And I also, I'm not getting any younger. I need to build up a good pension, which because I've had businesses and different things and jumped careers, I haven't got a stable pension pot, so that's another reason why I'm doing it. That's a little bit about me. So my first 3 to 4 months in Oriflame, I began working at a rather stressful job. As I say, I was out of the house about 11, 12 hours a day. I do need me 8 hours sleep, otherwise I can't function. So that left about 4 or 5 hours to do everything else, cook the dinner, sometimes, Sam does it mostly, and stuff like that. So I started to build a customer base. I hadn't done it since 2007, so it was, even though it was there in the back of my head, getting back out there with catalogues and presenting them, which I hadn't done in Clean Easy as well, was quite new to me. So that was quite strange, getting back into that. What I started to do, like I say, I came here in that workshop end of last year and started to soak like a sponge what everyone was saying, the people who were sponsoring, like Sheila and Becky and Kevin and Tracy, and people who were talking and sponsoring and working the business, picking all that up. I was putting it into practice, but I wasn't quite getting the results. And I was saying to Gavin, Gavin's saying, listen to what they're saying on the webinars and everything, and I'm like, I am, but I'm doing that, but I'm not getting the sort of kind of results that they're getting with the sponsoring. Why is it? What am I not doing right? What was their secret? You always think that there's a secret, I suppose, don't you? So I began to tweak a little bit what I was doing. I think I've said, and you might have heard on a webinar that I did, that I don't really use Facebook. You know, I don't really sort of load up personal stuff on there. I was only on it because my sister in Australia invited me on it a few years ago, and so I could be in contact with her. So I started to post images about what we were doing on a personal level, and interacting on other people's posts, liking videos, sharing videos, that type of thing. Tips that Gavin and everybody else have been talking about. Because I'm thinking, surely that can't make a difference. Becky's probably sitting there thinking, yes it does. Oh yes. But it did start making the difference. Even putting little likes and emojis and things like that on people's posts. Also, just from a screenshot I sent Gavin when something didn't work, I sent him a screenshot of something to say, oh, you know, what's wrong with this? And he said, oh, you've got your settings on your Facebook set to only people that you know, friends can see your posts. So I immediately changed it to public. So I was obviously posting in these groups, and most people weren't even seeing it. I began to use a second Facebook account that I had, sort of revived it, that I had from the past, associated with something I did in the past. Started using that, so I was splitting my posts between the two. And increased the number of posts that I did, split across, as I say, the two accounts. So the sort of activity that I basically do, I started posting between 50 to 100 posts per day. I don't really get to the 100 posts a day, I would say, if I was maybe off work for the day, you know, if I wasn't working sort of in a full-time job. But I would do morning, lunch, late afternoon and evening. Try different types of ads, but the basic facts that I would make sure that were in an advertisement that I post would be that it's online and offline retailing. I might put that in the heading or somewhere. You know, I basically, when you go into Facebook, you go in the buy and sell groups, and then you put a header, I would probably put something like that. Suitable for stay-at-home mums, dads, carers, students, or anyone looking to make a part-time income from home. Free to start, no stock to hold, no experience necessary, full training and support must be over 18. PM me for info only. I did make a big mistake in the early days, for months actually, of when people reply and they'll just put next or please send me info, you know, actually on the Facebook stream, that I was sort of not messaging them all the info, but I wasn't saying to them, please PM me. And I wasn't making that connection where they PM you and then you send them the message back. So that connection wasn't being made. So I think an awful lot of the information I sent out in the first few months of doing this wasn't getting through to them. It was just going in their spam. Because I wasn't getting the sort of conversion rates that I should have been getting, which was another thing I was saying to Gavin. Why aren't people, you know, if I send out 50 lots of full information, why I should be getting at least one out that would join the business, you know, just based on the law of averages. But I think they just weren't getting the information. So it's tempting sometimes to just send a message direct to them, but I would just say never do that really. Just make sure that they PM you and then you PM them back.
I was going to say, if you do that too much, you also get a messenger ban.
Yes. Oh, I've not had that one yet.
I did.
Oh my gosh, okay. Bless you.
3 weeks off messenger.
Oh god. I've had 2 lots of Facebook bans, 2 weeks at a time, 2 weeks at a stretch.
But yeah,
I just feel like you're on the legs.
because it thinks you're spam, because you're constantly sending to people you're not friends with on Messenger, so it picks up the same thing.
Okay.
So it's always best to get them to PM you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because we use Facebook, don't we, for everything really at the moment with Oriflame, so you just cannot have a Facebook ban, it's just not good. Information sent out, what I send out. I provide a summary of what we do and what we sell, and ask them if this is of interest and to message me further. So I send a little bit of information first, just summarising what we do, and then if they come back, then I will send further information. Okay. And the further information that I'd send, a description of how we market the goods. You know, we do it online and offline, so bring in that offline at that point definitely, because some people who contact me just think it's just all online and only want to do online, and want to be using the catalogues, but I think you've got to be introducing that idea of catalogues really early on, otherwise, you know, they're going to resist it later. A description of what we get for free, you know, I'll say you get a digital catalogue, here's a link to that so you can see what it looks like. A link, you get a free online website, here's a link to that, so you can see that as well. So obviously my links. Get back to me if you've got any questions. A lot of people don't have a great deal of questions after that. I would say more don't have a lot of questions than do. And they'll just say either yes, I'd like to get started, or no, not for me, thank you. And I don't pursue it, you know, if they say no, I just let it go. You know, I don't hassle them about it. Similarly, if on the first lot of information that I send, if they don't come back and say, I want further information, I'll let that go as well. You know, I've still got all those contacts there, and may go back to them in the future, but I don't at that point in time if they don't ask me for the information. Okay. So if I sign somebody up, I mean, what I've done is that I've just got a Word document, because what I found was I was getting a lot of people, not a lot, but quite a number of people, when they were filling out the Join Us form, they were struggling with loading up their postcodes and addresses and phone numbers, and they'd come back to me and say, you know, I can't get my address in, and I've had somebody actually stop at that point because he got so frustrated. So I thought, I need to give them tips on this. So I basically typed up a Word document, you know, and it says, do this, do this. When you're putting in your address, give it quite a few seconds to upload when you put in your postcode. When you're putting in your phone number, you know, it may take a few moments. If it says, because sometimes it may be that they have already joined Oriflame and forgotten in the past, and it'll say that when they go to the bottom and click submit, it will say, you know, something about a duplicate phone number or a duplicate email address, and that's because they're already in the database of Oriflame. So, you know, we can get around that, you know, and allow them to sign up, because they didn't do anything, they even forgot, they just filled out a form and probably forgot about it in the past. So I basically give them all this sheet of hints and tips of how to fill out the form, and pre-warning them that could be a problem uploading their address, so they don't get frustrated and stop at that point. Okay. So after the sign up, obviously you get your email from Oriflame saying, congratulations, somebody's joined your team, yay. So the first thing I do then is friend them on Facebook, on my personal profile one, not the extra one that I've got. And then I add them immediately to I've got a support group for my team, and then obviously there's Gavin's. So the first thing I do after I friend them is I add them to my support, I message them, I say I'm going to friend you on Facebook, and now I'm going to add you to my 2 support groups. Please look out in your notifications for an invitation from the Freedom Group, which is my group, and Terrier Group. And please accept them. I give them real intricate instructions on this, because as we know, with Gavin's, people weren't really getting in properly, were they, and some of the people in your group. Please do this, do this, do this. Go in your notes, and I don't go any further until they've done that. I don't give them any other information until I know that they've accepted the invitations. And then I email them some steps of getting started documents, using Gavin's videos, a couple of videos that I've done myself, and basically on how to set up their online store and their Facebook beauty groups. So the first thing I get them to do after I know they're in the groups, and I check they're in the groups, because after I've added them to Gavin's group, I immediately message him and say, I have just added somebody to your group, please accept it. And then he adds them as soon as he can. Because I don't want that long delay, because Gavin might not notice it. I know when people in my team have added people to my group, I haven't noticed it sometimes, unless they message me and tell me, it's not been obvious to me. And time elapses, you know, so I get Gavin to accept it as soon as possible. So then I send them the information. First thing obviously is setting up their online store, and sending you the link to check that it works okay. So quite a few times they get this wrong, quite often, and it's not obvious to them when they're going through the videos I've found. And they'll send me a link, half a link to a catalogue. That's not their catalogue, that happens quite a lot. I'm not sure where they get that link from, I've not quite worked that one out, but it seems to be the same link. I'm not sure where they're finding it. yes, get them to send it. If it's wrong, I'll go back and say, not quite right yet, but watch that video again, you know, and this is what it should look like, and send them mine again, and then they usually get it then. And then I also get them, after that, to set up a Facebook beauty group. I do that really early on, because one of the girl ladies that I introduced over in Ireland, she'd done Avon before, and she basically run her business from her Facebook group. She didn't really use the catalogues apart from handing out a few to local people. And she had that experience behind her. And I noticed, she invited me into the group straight away when she did. She did it like straight after she joined. And then she added all her friends and family in, and then she got them to add friends and family in. So she had about 300 odd people in like no time in a group. And she was making all the sales through a Facebook group. And I was like, wow, you know, that, I wasn't doing anything like that really myself. So I was learning from her. And the interaction, she just naturally did it. It was just a natural thing. And I learned from that you can do that and get orders as well as through the catalogues. So that's why I get people to do it straight away. I don't wait for them to get customers, I get them to do that first. And invite, set it up, post about 10, 15 images, copied. Quickest way is to just use the digital catalogue, right click, copy it and paste it into your group if they're not very good with computers. And then take the descriptions maybe from the catalogue, you know, and put that as the description on the post. So they've got a lovely image and a lovely description, and they've got maybe 10 or 15 of those, and say when you've got it like that, then invite in your friends and family into the group. And then, you know, then they've got this already set up little beautiful online group that and they can just invite their friends and family into. And they will often get orders straight away from doing that. Before I have even had a chance to post in a catalogue, you can get orders from that. So the first thing I do is, once I've posted them in the group, put them in the groups, I'll get one of our latest catalogues that I know has still got a bit of time left on it, and post it out to them. So I've started doing that as well, posting them out of a paper book. And I put a little slip of paper in it, just saying, you know, please pass this around your friends and family, and you know, you should be able to get some orders from that. So I do that as well. Also in the sort of welcome documents that I send, there is the welcome programs. I post them, you know, the 3 different welcome programs, and say this is what you can get if you get this amount of turnover, and really emphasise about that £52 and above order value for the first order, to make sure that they get the credit facility as soon as possible. Because you know, before you know it, sometimes they put an order on for about 10 quid because it's a free delivery, and then they haven't got the credit facility, and then they might get a little bit frustrated by that, thinking why I haven't got credit facility, and that's because they haven't listened and followed that little bit of advice. So after, once they've joined our support groups, they've done their online store, they've done the Facebook beauty group. I've mentioned about ordering catalogues because I send them the catalogues post codes as well. Then it's obviously about ongoing support. Now, there's quite a few times I've had to set up new people's stores and Facebook groups because they've not been able to follow the videos. As simplified as the videos are, and I've done a little version of one as well, sometimes they still struggle. So I'll basically get their login details, go in as them, and set up the store and do it. And then send them the link back and say, this is your link, this is what you need to use. I've started up much more now, not so much in the beginning, but this one, I found it quite tricky in the beginning to get people to talk over the phone or a video chat. You know, people just so much want to use Messenger nowadays, texting, that it can be quite tricky. Hello, is it Richard?
Yes.
Hello. Do a Zoom. Here's the link, download the Zoom software, and you know, Monday night, you know, what maybe my expectation on it has changed, and so therefore they're doing it a little bit more now. I've started holding a 2-weekly Zoom group chat with the group. Again, not everybody turns up, but I've done it, I think, 3 times now over the last couple of weeks. So, you know, I think the first time there was maybe 8 of the team, then another time 6, another time 5. So I send out a message to the ones that are active and, you know, fresh and new in the business, and say, having a group chat. Would you like to join us? You know, we're going to share tips and advice and so on. And not everybody replies, but it's those that do, you know, that count, obviously. So it hasn't yet been that there hasn't been anybody on it but me, thank goodness. So, but that's been useful as well, because it's not just me talking to people and telling people, which they've heard a few times already at this point, you know, and it's other people in the group will pipe in and share ideas and stuff as well. And things that I don't even think of, you know, somebody's done something, I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. You know, well done, you. And to find answers to all their queries, you know, sometimes I don't know the answers, I haven't experienced it. I think there was one just the other day actually that Sheila, I think you answered, that Gavin posted about a new person had tried to order her first order and she clicked invoice instead of pay on card, and I wasn't sure myself on that one. So, but went to Gavin and then somebody else, Sheila, provided the answer. So, yeah, after support. As my old grandma used to say, there's not as queer as folk. Some people will start and stop before they even get as far as opening their store, and it's not your fault. You can take it personally and think, what have I done wrong? You know, what's happening here? People don't always act as you may, or as you think, you know, and you think, why did they do that? That's interesting. Okay, but that's just how it is. Everyone will do what they want to do. And you can guide and support, give them the information that they need to build a business, but you can't make them do something that you want them to do if they don't want to do it, unfortunately. And I have had situations where, like I said before, some people can't seemingly follow the video for setting up the store or the Facebook group. So I've gone in and I've set up the online store, and then if it carries on down that thread of, oh, can you just help me do this and help me do that, and it gets too much, you can sense, I think, at some point that you're building the business, they want you to do it for them, you know, rather than perhaps you're just training them here, you know. So at that point, I think, you know, you need to sort of say, okay, now it's for you, you need to do this, you have a go at this, you try this. So when digging for diamonds, you know, as the books and Gavin and people have said, you have to go through a lot of rubble sometimes to get there, but a diamond will reveal itself. And, you know, I did think at the very beginning when I started, what's the secret, you know, why is Sheila and Tracy and Becky, and, you know, everyone's doing all these sponsoring and getting all these results, what am I doing wrong? But as Gavin kept saying, you just need to do more, you just need to do more. I upped my activity, I tweaked a few things, but it really was all about activity and the volume of activity, followed by it and backed up by the support as well. Okay, and I think the only way to fail really, as we all know, is to stop, so never stop trying. Thank you.